Hiding on the guitar. Is that the thing that should not be? Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of spooky guitar content, the Trogly's Guitar Show. We're gonna kick tonight's episode off with a guitar that Jim sent me. He's got an interesting blood orange burst Les Paul Standard over here. At least that's kind of what it looks like to me. That was a cool limited edition finish done up around 2018. But then he has a more traditional Les Paul Standard over here that's got a nice plain top, but it's one of those plain tops that is oozing character. Now, if you've been watching my show for a while, you know I blacklight guitars. And since I do it, a lot of my viewers also do it because we're looking for things like hidden headstock repairs or touch-ups. So anytime I have an older guitar, we always see that on the workbench segment. If anything else, it's just a cool excuse to have a glowing green guitar. However, during his inspection, his pants were spooked off him. There's a skull on the back of his guitar. Is this a haunted piece? What is going on here? Jim wasn't quite too sure. However, I've actually run into this before. It was one of those really cool Guitar of the Week from 2007. It was the 3-pickup classic custom, one of the most popular ones of the entire series. The back had some wear and tear and it was relatively unassuming, but waiting on the back for me was the howling of the werewolves to the full moon. Now you can actually see a little bit of an outline here. What likely happened is it was some sort of an adhesive guard put on the guitar. I just recently purchased a collection that somebody actually had those back pads on them, so you can check them out in this episode. Sometimes it's a static clean type product that is meant to protect the guitar against buckle rash. I wouldn't necessarily suggest them because, as you can tell, they do more harm than good if you happen to look under a ultraviolet light. So perhaps that is exactly what happened here. This is possible that it was just a big sticker at one point in time too, and it just kind of discolored the finish slightly, only in the clear coat. So you would never really see the discoloration unless you took it to a rave. So be this your friendly spooky warning. Don't put things on your guitars, because even if you take them off, it's always gonna be there. So thank you, Jim, for sharing your spooky tale. If you have a similar story that you would like to share, or a crazily modified guitar that you might like me to feature, please send those suggestions to my tradetrogly@gmail.com email. I need to put an 18+ filter on this one. Here it is. Yeah, I found this on a forum called The Worst Burst You've Ever Seen. And here it is. It's kind of like Frankenstein's monster. It's got a little bit of green. It's got a little bit of yellow. It's kind of like the gecko burst finish. But this takes a 57 Les Paul Jr. and just gives it a quirky out there finish. It really reminds me of what Gibson was doing in 2018. They were flying off the rails, but I absolutely love and adore this era because of that. Before modern day Gibson came in and made everything so 50s historically correct. I'm sure if you give them another decade, they'll start losing their mind too. And normally, I'm a fan of green guitars, but this one doesn't quite do it. Like maybe if it was a TV version of this exact same finish, or they do a slightly darker green, somewhat similar to the Epiphone Silver Fox finish. Absolutely adore this color to the front and back. Gibson needs to start using it on some of their stuff. Yes, there was technically the one Brian Ray signature guitar, but in my opinion, they didn't do the finish right. So imagine something kind of like that, but with a lighter burst and a little bit of a darker green. Then I think that could become a really sweet finish. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any photos of the back of that one, but I can only hope and pray that they went all out and bursted the edges, back of the neck and headstock and things like that. Heck, while we're at it, let's throw a maple fretboard on it. But next, I have a very interesting beast to share with you guys. Johnny sent me this a few months ago, back when I was in my neck pickup only phase, like when we were talking about the Les Paul Jr. Rhythm. I still have that guitar if anybody's interested. But outside of the big jazz archtop box world, you just don't really see that on electric guitars too often. But look at this. Here we have some sort of like an SG looking guitar that only has a neck pickup. It's got all that room for it. It's got the like ABR1 bridge here, and then it's got like an EDS 275 type stop bar tailpiece, but it appears the neck has binding and it's got dot inlays, but it's labeled a custom. This is just such a freak of a guitar. And what if I told you that's only half the story? This is an EDS 1275. Well, not exactly, but it is the double neck solid body guitar. But the bottom half is actually a bass. I love it. And it looks like that's only a neck pickup too. So it's kind of like an EBO. They just have the giant mud bucker up front. And I have reviewed and demoed one of these before if you're interested. And every time I looked at this photo, I just kind of thought maybe there's a different pickup hiding underneath this palm rest area. But now it makes total sense why he ordered a guitar on this side with just the neck pickup. I mean, he kind of looks like a jazz player to me, but it matches. It's symmetry between these things. But what's really cool about this custom order is normally you've got another little toggle switch down here to switch between the pickups, or sometimes it's that one, I forget which, because the only one I've ever demoed was the slash one and it was wired the opposite of normal. So the fact that you only have the neck selector on this one, presumably, it kind of simplifies the controls a little bit. Are you going to be playing the bass lines or are you going to be playing the jazzy licks up top? That is one really cool custom ordered guitar. Our next one to talk about I found while hunting on Reverb. It caught my attention because, in quotations, custom shop original, Les Paul Studio, P100s, yes. So this is a golden era Les Paul Studio in my opinion. They are the best studios. They've got the Ebony fretboards and they just feel different than the modern day studios. Both are great guitars, but in my opinion, I definitely prefer these early 90s ones. Whenever somebody says, hey, what guitar should I buy for, around $1,000 plus or minus 500, it's always one of these. It's to the point where these have definitely trumped the Pauls just due to the fact that those things have gotten so expensive. But when I got to the back side of the headstock on this one, it's like, where's my Custom Shop Original decal? Just in case you don't know, there's Custom Shop Original and Custom Shop Edition. Before the Custom Shop officially opened, that's what they used to signify like special limited editions or one-offs. Generally, late 1982 into 1994 is the era that you'll find these. So this one being a 93, it would have been a very late one. However, it doesn't have it. So I felt a little bit clickbaited here. So I keep scrolling through all these photos. Okay, everything's looking all right here. But this looks like a regular P90 style pickup studio, which is pretty rare at this point in time. But then this absolutely blew my mind. I've never seen this before. A certificate of authenticity on a Les Paul Studio? COAs were not 100% commonplace by 1993. Maybe a few select high-end custom shop might have had it by now, but I've never seen one labeled Gibson Custom Shop Original instead of putting it as a decal on the back of the headstock. Now, in my opinion, it's not as cool as having it as a decal, but this looks pretty nice at the same time. Look at this, it actually says Gibson USA on it. Were they going to do COAs on USAs? That's something Gibson generally doesn't do, even yet till today. So maybe this is like early, what are we going to do with the whole certificate of authenticity things? The custom shop formally opens in October of 1993, so this does slightly predate that. So it just kind of shows, Gibson's thought process of what they were trying to become at this particular point in time. And the only thing I found different was the truss rod cover on this reads limited edition. Perhaps this was an early take on what they ended up using during the mid-90s of truss rod covers that look like this, limited edition X of 200. Sometimes you see it at a 100, 125, because this is around the time that you start to see that. It looks like it has some lacquer lines. It's got a pretty nasty impression on the top, a little bit of gold wear on the bridge. I suppose for the most part, it's not in too bad a shape. Maybe a couple of dings on the edge, either that or it's just reflecting lights. Sad that we don't have the original case anymore, but who knows, maybe this didn't even have a case to start with. Most of the 90s studios didn't. They just had the cool green interior gig bags. So this is a very interesting piece. Is it worth $2,000? I mean, to the very right buyer, yeah, I think this is worth $2,000. However, the general market probably would not agree with that statement. But since this one has kind of interesting early piece of case candy history, I do believe it'll sell. Because, I mean, where else are you going to get a P100 stock Les Paul Studio? And we're going to end tonight with this weird Les Paul. I don't think I've ever talked about a Buckethead Les Paul before. I haven't reviewed and demoed it multiple times, but desperately need to do a modern take. Yeah, I'm still looking for minty condition Buckethead Studios and the true signatures because they're just getting crazy in price. So when this one showed up today, it's like, okay, $5,200. I used to say that'd be crazy for a studio, but that's about what they go for nowadays in clean shape. So I was going through this and it's like, all right, yeah, it's looking pretty good. Looks like it might be the Grover tuner version that I'm looking for. It's looking pretty clean at this point. So I'm starting to get my wallet out here going, let's make an offer. And then, I'm sorry, Jeepers, Daphne happened. Scooby-Dooby-Doo. He's using Daphne to point at the blemishes. I love it. And I'm sorry, man, but I think I'm gonna have to steal your idea here. I wish everybody would do this because it's so precise and clear. You don't have to worry about looking at some dude's fingers or people judging you. Well, that is if your hands aren't in the shot, but it really does do a good job. It makes people go, whoa, there's a toy action figure here. Oh, I should be looking at what it's pointing at. I mean, it's almost like this toy was specifically made for this job. We've got the whole Vanna White of guitar conditions here. Pointing out the smallest of dings. Now in this photo, most people's eyes would be drawn here. Okay, I was wrong, it's the Schaller ones, but at least it's got the Grover style tips for the tuners. But that's not what he wants you to be looking at because you're gonna see that anyways. Daphne here is showing you the discoloration in the finish right here. And then later that. And I particularly like this one because pointing to this ding, but this hand's like, how does this even happen? What kind of moron dings their guitar here? But this one, I could kind of understand. Also gives me like realtor vibes. I just thought it was fascinating. I thought I wanted to share it with you guys. Mr. Guitars from the right side up, I salute you. All right, Troglodytes, I think that's enough fun for tonight. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.